and gun's clear. Alright, well here's a strange one for you. This is the Keltec RDB Survival. So let's go ahead and cover the really cool stuff about this rifle. Well, for one, it is a bullpup design. That's the only way you're getting a package this small with a 16-inch barrel. So while we're talking about it, yes, this has a 16-inch 1-7 twist barrel. It's chambered in 5.56. It is a pencil profile barrel. I'm talking about this thing is uber thin, which really cuts down on the weight, and this thing comes in at 5 pounds 14 ounces. Absolutely lightweight rifle that is unloaded in this configuration, 5 pounds 14 ounces, and it comes in at 26.1 inches in overall length. So this is a 16-inch piston-driven 5.56 rifle that weighs less than 6 pounds and comes in at 26 inches in overall length, which I have to say puts this in the category of what could possibly be a PDW, a personal defense weapon. But unlike what a lot of them are, shooting basically neutered cartridges or pistol calibers, you're getting 5.56 running at very desirable velocities, but still maintaining a really small footprint, really lightweight. And obviously you can see the design, it is borderline featureless. So it's going to be very easy to carry and put in a bag. The sights do flip down, which basically turns it into a board. I mean, this is going to slip right in and outside of a bag or underneath the coat and not have any snag points. So again, it's a really cool concept because it is sort of like a PDW, but it's shooting 5.56 out of a 16-inch barrel. Today's video is brought to you by Modern Warriors. If you're in Utah or Tennessee, well, a little birdie told me that they've got some incredible storefronts in those two states. If you're not in one of those states, like myself, well, then they've even got a fantastic online store. I'm talking about everything that you could possibly want in relationship to things that go bang, things that make things go bang, and things that fly out the end of a barrel when things go bang. I'm talking they've got it all. High-end stuff, low-end stuff, middle-of-the-road stuff. They've got it all. So definitely check out Modern Warriors online or one of their storefronts in Utah or Tennessee. So again, it is a piston-driven system. So that means that it's going to typically run a little bit harder recoil-wise, but it's going to suppress better. It's going to run cleaner, and it should be more reliable just in general terms. It's a gas piston system. It is an adjustable piston. So you've got just this little adjustable, we'll call it a wheel, if that's okay. It just sits right here, no tools needed, and it is an adjustable. You can adjust the gas. So if you are running this suppressed and you're looking at this and probably thinking, well, how am I going to run that suppressed? Well, it's really unique. It does come with these flip-up sights, which are pretty solid. You know, they get the job done. This one right here, the front sight is held in with just like 3 roll pins, and I did receive this rifle with one of the roll pins that had fallen off or fallen out, and the sight was actually just laying in the box, and I had to put that back together. So it's probably not the most sturdy thing. It's not something that I would want to use long term and rely on, but for most applications it's going to be all right. But the cool thing is you can remove this front sight. You've just got 2 little Allen screws right here. Take that off, you got a universal socket. You can pull this little front nut off, and then you've got a threaded barrel underneath there, so you can run it suppressed. I'm not doing that. For one, I don't have a universal socket to take that off, and I just think it would take away from the concept just a little bit as far as like a PDW really compact rifle. I'm also not sure how it would fare with a suppressor on the end of it. With that barrel being super thin, you're probably going to have to either pick suppressed or unsuppressed and run it in that manner permanently, at least for your zero. Your point of impact shift, I think, would probably be pretty drastic just with that super thin barrel. It's going to have more flex and be more susceptible to flex. that might not be the case, and depending on what distance you're shooting, that might not even be a factor that you need to really consider. Now, I have considered pulling this front sight off and running like a flash hider on it, just to tame the fireballs that it's throwing. And with this being such a short package, those fireballs are happening relatively close to my face, and you know, that's an explosion going off in your face, and that's not super ideal. But depending on what you're doing with it, you know, this is intended to be a survival rifle, so you're probably not just mag dumping or shooting it a whole bunch. So now let's talk about the ergonomics and just the experience of shooting this thing. Obviously, like I said, it's throwing huge fireballs right there at your face. The charging handle is over here on the side, which limits what you can do as far as accessories go. Obviously, I'm running this thing just as it comes from the factory, no optic, no light. With this handguard, which is the handguard it comes with, I do believe that you can change this out for an M-lock handguard, but that is going to increase the weight. But that would give you the option to mount a light or some sort of angled grip or what have you on there. I'm still running just the plastic polymer forend on here. So my only option for running the light would be to run it up top, but I would have to run it off of the right side of the rifle because this charging handle over here is on the left side, and you need to be able to access that, which means that I would have to run a pressure switch over here as well, and just opted not to do that. We're running it without a light. So yes, you do have your charging handle over here on the side. It is a side charging handle. And it does lock even on an empty mag. You have got a little notch right here, so pull it back, rotate it slightly up. The cool thing about that, HK slap. This thing heats up super fast. I'm talking about super fast, which is one of my concerns. Running a suppressor on it means it's going to heat up even faster because you're putting more gas and more hot gas back into the system. One thing that you should be aware of as far as heating up is this little pin right here, which, you know, if you bring your finger just slightly up, that joker, I don't know what it is. I'm assuming that holds in the trigger or something along those lines. That thing gets like scorching hot, and I burnt my finger more than once on that when I would come to take my finger off, and naturally my finger would just want to fall right there on that piece, and man, is it hot. So that's don't touch. That's a don't touch piece. It is fairly open in here as far as the piston. You've got access to that, so it does bleed off some of that heat fairly quickly, and you get a little bit of circulation, but man, this thing gets hot quick. The controls on it, a little bit different than what you're probably used to, so it is a crossbow safety. I'm sure that can probably be changed out to run it on the other side, maybe. I would imagine the same goes for the charging handle, that it can be switched over to run on the right side. But yeah, it's a crossbow safety, so that's a little bit different than what you're probably used to. Or you've got a magazine release on both sides, so either side, as well as a bolt release that is on either side as well, just depending on which hand you're running it with and what sort of technique you come up with to reload. Reloads on it aren't ideal. That's just a funky angle to get a magazine up in there. This is just the factory 10 round magazine that it came with, so it keeps everything super compact. But yeah, reloads aren't great. They're a little bit funky, and then the ejection port is actually down here. So when you're shooting it, those are falling straight down, which means that it's going to be really solid, that if you're a wrong-handed person and you need to switch it over, you're not getting hit in the face with gases or brass. So everything's getting vented downward, which is really cool. Makes for a pleasant experience, although this rifle does recoil fairly hard for a 5.56. Being a piston-driven 5-pound, 14-ounce gun, it recoils more than you're probably used to with 5.56. Let's talk about the ergonomics of it. The ergonomics are equivalent to a medieval times crossbow. It's literally like you're shooting with a 2x4. Really square up here on the front, but it's not terrible. But my goodness, this right here, it's funky. The angle of it is so different than you're used to. To put it into perspective, this right here would be like a normal grip angle for an AR. Will be something about like this. And that trigger, again, the rifle is empty. We have tested that, cleared it, nothing's in the magazine. Safe direction. Yeah, it's super loud when you dry fire it as well. If you've got it up here and you dry fire it, you're probably going deaf. Yeah, so here's like a normal grip angle for your AR. And now look at that in relation to the barrel. Look at the angle of that thing. So typically, you know, it would be something along the lines of this right here. But with this, no, I mean, you're angled way down, and that trigger, it doesn't come straight back. It's got like this, it's going that way. So when you're shooting it, it's coming this way. Again, like a medieval times crossbow, you might as well just be squeezing that whole lever down there on the bottom. Wrapping your thumb around up here, it's not the most comfortable thing. Again, it's like, I mean, you're just holding this big chunk of metal and plastic, and that piece right there gets hot as well. It takes a little bit longer, but it does get hot and gets uncomfortable fairly quickly. If you're going to run this thing long term, definitely wear gloves. I would recommend on both hands. But yeah, if you want to shoot 5.56 out of a medieval crossbow, well, this is your platform. Because the ergonomics feel about like that. Just no ergonomics as far as gripping it. The angle is terrible, and the trigger angle is terrible as well, because you're pulling it upwards while your wrist is cocked forward, and trying to get this thing to run quick is quite a hassle. I don't know, my wrist and my finger just, it doesn't work that way. The stock is slightly adjustable, but it's not much. I'm just running it all the way in, and it does not have great sling points. You've got a slot up here and a slot back here, but that's going to cause the rifle to want to ride basically like that. What I think would be super cool, back to like the PDW concept, is if they would put a QD stud right about there where that Keltec logo is. You can even put one on both sides. That way you could run a single point sling, and it would hang down perfectly straight. Swing it under a little bit, throw a coat over it if you want to, and it's out of the way, and you're still free to manipulate it. Because with this being a bullpup, you do need to move it around a little bit more than like a standard AR platform, just with the nature of the reloads. Instead of it being here, you need to rotate a little bit more, typically get it up a little bit higher so that you can see that mag well until you get a good fundamental baseline worked in there. The rifle is, again, an incredibly cool concept. The ergonomics of a medieval crossbow. It's a 16-inch barrel, 1 7 twist, 5.56 bullpup rifle. Sounds pretty cool. It's got some shortcomings though, as I talked about. Main thing is just the ergonomics of it. It's awful, but that's not what they were going for. If you're going for ergonomics, well, you're probably not looking at the well, first off, you're probably not looking at Keltec ergonomically. That's not what Keltec's really known for. But you're also probably not looking for the survival version of this. You could go with just a standard RDB, and a lot of these features translate over to that, and you lose a couple of them, like this featureless grip. I don't think the iron sights come on the standard RDB. Could be wrong, I don't know. But this is a really neat concept. It's very, very unique. Nothing Fancy is one of the people that reviewed this rifle when it first came out. He said it was Keltec's coolest gun they've ever came out with, or something along those lines. And I think it's pretty neat. They're on to something here. There's typical Keltec shortcomings with it. Quality doesn't feel that good. It feels very plasticky. The front sight up here is held in with roll pins, and those get knocked out fairly easily. A lot of sharp edges. I've actually sliced the absolute crap out of my hand on this gun, actually up here on the front sight itself. Yeah, I mean, you can hear when, let's see, we'll drop this bolt, and you can hear, well, my mic's up here, listen. It is super loud, and you hear just that ding, that springy sound in there. Just doesn't scream, hey, I'm a quality rifle. But as far as shootability, it's not that bad. Once you've got it into position and you've kind of got the angle figured out, worked out, it's not bad. It's super fun being a bullpup design. And I do like the fact that you're pushing 5.56 out of a 16-inch barrel, and it is a 1-7 twist, so you can run your heavier 5.56 rounds, which is really cool. Obviously, this is not a precision rifle, so you're probably not looking at running like the Black Hills, you know, like the Mark 12 ammo, the 77s or the 75 grain ammo out of it. You're probably looking at a little bit lighter stuff. But if you do want to run the heavy stuff, have at it. You got a 1-7 twist. It's going to stabilize those rounds. 16-inch barrel, you're going to push them out at a good velocity. Yeah, overall, by far my most unique gun. It's fun. It's got a very specific use case. It's certainly not for everyone. But if you're just after cool factor, or again, want to shoot 5.56 out of a board, this is your gun. I think that's all I have for you. I appreciate you watching. I will catch you on the next one.